Black Gemara. This is Sunday's Gemara of Ayin Ches. We're continuing to learn about the Leviathan. And the Gemara takes us till the very end of Ayin Hey Amud Beis. Amud Abba Yochan. Asakash Baruch Hu Lasa Sulat Tzadikim. Hashem will make a party or a meal for Tzadikim Ipsari Shel Leviathan from the flesh of the Leviathan. Shenemar, as it says, Yichru Olav Chabarim, that they're going to have a meal on it. The Chabarim, which are the friends and true friends of those who learn Torah, who all Hashem Shemaim. The Ein Kara Elosuda. Kara is a meal. Shenemar, how do you know it's a meal? It says by Yichru Lehem Kerek Doila, that he prepared for them this Kerek Doila, and it says there by Yoichlu by Yishtu, and they ate and they drank. So we see it's a meal. The Ein Chabarim El Tamachachim. Who are the real friends from the Chumash? Now it says Hayesheves Beganim. This is the Maimer of Basi Lagani. Hayesheves Beganim. Those sit in the garden. Chavedim Akshim L'Kher. The friends that listen to the voice. Hashmi'eni, and they're listening into the voice of the voice Malach and so on. So this is talking about Torah. Vashar
Shira Shirim, no?
Sorry?
This is from Shira Shirim.
Yes, it is. But it's the previous Lubavitcher Rebbe, the last Maimer.
The last Maimer, Basi Lagani.
Basi Lagani, yeah. And this on this pasuk, Hashem Begani, yeah. Vashar, and the rest, what do they do the rest of the Leviathan? Mechalkin oisin, they distribute them, but oisin by schayda b'shukir Yerushalayim, and they do all kinds of business with them in the merchandise in Yerushalayim. It says in the pasuk that what it called yachatzu, that they're going to divide it up bein Kananim, amongst the merchants. Bein Kananim el Tagdim. Who are Kananim? Kananim are sometimes referred to as merchants. Remember, it says Kanan b'yodai, that a Kanan. What do they carry with them when they travel? Ma'ozne mirmel le'eshegoyim. They have these false weights, and they're trying to rob everybody. That's the Kanan. Or he buys him a hacha from the following pasuk, where it says Asher soichara sarim Kananeh, that the Seichrim are the officers of Canaan, Nichbadi Aretz, the dignitaries of the land. Will make a sukkah for tzaddikim out of the hide of the Yassin. Shenemar, it says, Hismale besukkahs oirei. It says that he will make out of the oil, he will make sukkahs. Sukkahs have 4 walls and a roof. Zacha oitzin lei sukkah. If there is zeicha, they'll have a sukkah. If you're if you're a lesser breeder of a tzaddik, then oisel tzalzel. You'll only have a tzalzel. So the Rashbam said that a sukkah means you have 4 walls, even though according to halacha 2 walls and a bit are sufficient. But over here in this reference there, sukkah means you have 4 walls, and tzalzel means all it does is like a pergola. All it does is protects you from the shade, or gazebo. All it does is protects you from the shade. So it has a roof, but it has no walls at all. Shenema, in the very same pasuk it says, and tzalzel, then you'll be just covering your head. For the fish, you'll have cover your head. If you reach level number 2, tier number 2, okay, you'll have shade. If you didn't reach level 2, number 3, from that flesh, from the hide, they'll make you a necklace. It won't protect your head from the sun, but you have a little necklace, some kind of a token memorabilia. Remember, it says, it says that it'll be a necklace around your neck. If you reach tier number 3, you'll get the necklace. If you didn't even reach that, I'll make you an amulet out of the hide. As it says in Pasuk, that they're going to tie it down for the for the younger ones. Those are reached tier number 4. Bashar, what do you do with the rest of the hide? The is going to cover the walls of the Yerushalayim with it. The ziv mavik and the shine, the radiance of that skin will be reflected by the sun, and everyone in Yerushalayim will benefit from it. Remember, so the whole goyim la'oilech, that the nature of the world will follow your light. The malachim la'noigaz, and the malach will go to the light. Usually we refer to it as the Beis Hamikdash. Here we're saying it's the light of the reflection of the Leviathan, the hide of the Leviathan. Then it says, "V'samti katkeit shivshasayich." Shivshasayich, they say, is the wall, as the Rashbam says, and I'll place katkade, some kind of precious stone. What kind of stone is that? Omar Rab Shmuel Bar Nachmani, there's an argument between malachim. 2 malachim in heaven had an argument, pshat, in this pasuk. Pretty amazing. What's pshat in this pasuk? Shai wrote it. I mean, they're in heaven, they could have asked Shai what he meant, but they were arguing. Gabriel and Michal. The others say it wasn't 2 malachim, it was 3 amaroi. There was 2 Amoraim b'Marav in Israel. Man in who's 2 Amoraim, Yehuda v'Chizki, both of them were b'nei Rabchia. Rabchia had a number of children. These were two of them, Yehuda and Chizkiah. Chad Amar, it was a Shoyam stone, and the Chad Amar Yash was the jasper stone. Omla Kosh Baruch Hu, Hashem said, you know what? Leheve kadin v'kadin. The word katke comes from the word like this and like this. I'll make a pshara. They'll both be right. I'll make it in both. And the Rashbam already says it's impossible. This was written by Yeshaya. How can we call it katke, an event that's going to happen many, many years later when two Amoraim are going to have a machlekes? So obviously it means that this was that Shai is part of the Nevi'is, that he already knew that this is going to be a machlekes in the future, and therefore he referred to it as kad kate, kad v'kad. Because as we said in Erevin, elu ve'elu dirul gilchaim, they're both right. And then the pasuk continues, "V'sharayich la'avnei egdach," and your gates will be avnei stones of egdach. What does that mean? Once sat there. What's this avnei egdach? The Kodesh Yidashin Osid HaKadosh Baruch Hu Lahavi Avodim Torah Gadol. Hashem will bring these precious stones, Shehem, and the size is Shloishim al Shloishim. The size is 30 by 30 amas. The Chaykik Behen, and you will carve out of this Eser al Esim, a doorway, 10 by 20, 10 high, 20 wide. Umamidan B'Shar, if I will place it on the gate of Shalim. Massive precious stone. A 30 amah tall.
Shoham is used in the Choshen.
Yes.
I don't remember Yoshve. Is that also
Jasper,
the Choshen?
Maybe I don't remember either. Yeah, I think it is.
It is also one of the 12. Okay.
So this Talmud mocked Rabbi Yochanan. He said, "What kind of fanciful stories are you telling us?" Legal of all the way to Talmud. Instead of just questioning, he was mocking. We can't even find a precious stone the size of an egg with a small bird of a dove. We can find this massive size. They just found last week, 2 weeks ago, that massive diamond. It was like how many thousands of carats? It was 2,500. How big was the actual stone?
It's huge.
Okay, so they found some. It's in Mashiach times already, appearing thus. So he mocked. One day, he fligas finose beyam. One day, he was traveling on this ship in the water, and Chaza, he was able to see Malache Hasharis. He had a vision. He saw these malachim, the Yosri that was sitting there, they were cutting down, smoothing out avonim toiv magolias, these large, massive precious stones. Shem lamed alamed. They were actually 30 by 30. They were 30 by 30, and the chakuk ben esim. Exactly what Rabbi Yochanan said is what he saw. He said to him, what's this all about? He said, the Abisha is going to place this in the gates of Shalim. So this Talmud obviously was not a nobody because he had this vision seeing Malachim doing this. But also Rabbi Yochanan, he said, Rebbe, continue darshaning. It's beautiful what you said. In fact, I saw exactly what you said. He thought he's praising Rabbi Yochanan. Rabbi got so angry. He said, you pushed the keli, got so incensed. What if I, as your Rebbe, tell you something, you wouldn't have believed me if you wouldn't have seen it? You're mocking the words of Chachamim. Nosan Ein, a boy gave him a look with his eyes, Venase Gal Shlatomas became a pile of bones. My father used to say, this is his own word, he says, what does it mean? Rabbi Yochanan gave him a look and he killed him. So he said, the pshat is differently. Pshat is that obviously this student saw the world through his eyes, through his prism, through this perspective, and he couldn't imagine in miracles, he couldn't imagine this would happen. So Rabbi Yochanan gave him his pair of eyes. Rabbi Yochanan gave Rabbi Yochanan's eyes and gave it to his Talmud. And now suddenly the Talmud was able to see the world through the eyes of Rabbi Yochanan. And then he saw that everything, the Gashmic world that he was looking at was just bones, is nothing. And the real world, the Ruchasika world, is what he was able now to see. And that's what it means. It didn't actually kill. So the Gemara goes further. Meisve, as a question, it says, I will lead you kaimiyas, which usually means two stalks, or very high. What does that mean? It says in Chumash. Rameir says, Musayim Amma. Rameir says that it means that the height of 2 amas. I'm going to take you to inside the soil eventually, the base of Migdash, and it's going to be the height of 2 stories of Adam Rishon. Because Adam Rishon, when he was downsized, he shrunk to 100 amos, and when he shrunk to 100 amos, that's what he's saying is that what do you call it? That's the height that's going to be 100 amos. So now we're going to talk a little bit also in the Gemara going on about the what do you call it? The next Yerushalayim Shalmayim. The Gemara continues. Sorry, go ahead.
Rabbi Yehuda.
Yeah, Rabbi Yehuda. So Rabbi Meir says, what's the height of this kind? What is the height of this kind? So here we're talking about if the Eden will do what Abishter wants, Abishter can take us and give us this height. What's he talking about here? Rameir says Masai Mama 200 amos, because these are equal to Shtei Medishim. These are equal to the height that other Medishim would have to be shrunk. It was 100 amos, double that is 200 amos. Rabbi Yehuda says, he said Meya amos, 100 amos. Why? Keneged Heichal L'Ksalah. The second base on Migdash was taller than the first. Remember, we learned in the beginning of Bava Basra, Gadol Yeh covered by Sheni. Covered by Sheni. The second base on Migdash, and it's called Bais Achan actually, is so that's 100 amos high, and that's how high it's going to be. And he says, I'll prove it to you. Remember, it says, look, regarding the future, Asher B'neinu, our children, is Kinatim, are like Megudolim, like saplings, bin when they're young. But I say, our daughters is kizavias mechutavas. Our daughters are like these cornerstones. Tavnis heichel. They'll have the form of the heichel. The form of the heichel is that, and the heichel height was 100 amos. That means that people in the future are going to become very tall. According to Rab Meir, we're going to be 200 amos tall. And since we're in Mashiach's times now, so we're talking about, I guess, us. And Rabbi Yehuda says not only 100 amos tall. And the question, therefore, is going to be, how can Rabbi Yehuda say that they're going to make this entrance that's going to be 10 amos high, 20 amos high and 10 amos wide? How are we going to fit in there? If we're going to be 100 amos tall or 200 amos tall, how in the world are we going to fit in through that entrance? That's one of the question. Says the Gemara, Ki Amar Rabbi Yechon. Who said Rabbi Yechon was talking about the entrance? Rabbi Yechon was talking about the windows in the wall. Rabbi Yechon, the entrance itself might be 100 amos tall. Says the Gemara, he was talking about the windows, not about the actual wall itself. Every time it's going to have 7 different chuppahs. Because it says in Pasuk, and Hashem will create under Mechvein Hatzir and all those next to it. He says, Anan Yomer, and you count, you'll see. Anan Yomer is 1, Va'ashan is 2, and then V'noiga is 3, and H is 4, Lahava, the flame is 5, and Laila Kal covered, and covered is Chuppah 6, and the next one is that there'll be a sukkah there, and that'll be 7. That every single tzaddik, the chuppah will be relative to the station of that tzaddik. As the Gemara, so the purpose of the chuppah is to protect the tzaddikim inside these chuppahs. So the Gemara asks a question: Oshan b'chuppah, why do they have 7 chuppahs? One made out of fire. Why do they need a chuppah made out of smoke, clouds? What do you need out of clouds? And it doesn't do any good, or smoke doesn't do any good. Rabbi Chanina said that these clouds are made for people who are that people who are very stingy, and they don't want to help Talmidei Chachamim out. As we're learning more Shvu is that a Talmid Chacham should always be treated. If he wants to do business, he should always make sure that he can sell his wares before anybody else sells their wares, and so on. So these are people who are very, I guess they don't want. Not only they don't help, they don't want to help them in Chacham. Should call me anybody who is, I guess, mean and stingy when it comes to help out Talmidei Chachamim. Mismalav Einav Oshlam Haba. That chuppah is going to generate smoke, and it's going to go into their eyes because they were short ayin. Their eyes were stingy. They didn't want to help them out, so their eyes are going to be affected. Think about it further. The age what's the fire? What role does the fire play? Fire again causes harm. What's the problem? Why we have fire? The whole idea of chuppah is to protect. So the cloud you're saying is not for the Talmud Chacham itself; it's for those, I guess, opponents of the Talmud Chacham. But what about the fire? The fire doesn't help the Talmud Chacham. What's the difference? Amar Rav Chanina, Melamed, it comes to teach you that Talmid Chacham themselves will be affected by the chuppah of their friend. They might be singed by it because when you singe, they'll be embarrassed. Why would they be embarrassed? That even though they're tzaddikim, but suddenly you realize that tzaddikim are greater than you, and that you could have reached their level as well, and you didn't try hard enough. And that's what the fire is, the shame. Woe was to that shame and woe was to that embarrassment. That's what the fire is. The Gemara continues. Hashem said to Moshe, another showing that even though they're all Tamid Chamim and they're all Tzaddikim, there's still a certain rivalry or jealousy when you realize that someone else is so much greater and you could have reached that level as well. And we find the same kind of shame by Moshe and Yeshua. What do we see there? It says in Gemara, the same thing when it's it said you'll give. Hashem said to Moshe, you should give some of your glory to Yeshua. It says some of your glory, but not all of your glory. The Canaan, there's Canaan, the elder that generation said, Pnei Moshe kipnei Chama, Pnei Yeshua kipnei Levana. So it was actually the Scanim who said it. Doesn't mean that it's true. It was the Scanim who said that. They said that Moshe Rabbeinu was like the sun, and Yeshua was like the moon. And everything that Yeshua had, he gleaned from Moshe Rabbeinu. Woe is to that shame. That what I mean, in such a short time, the sun and the moon, the disparity between the sun and the moon is immense. And look how so quickly it was reduced, that from Moshe to Yeshua, the step down was extraordinary, from the sun down to the moon. And the Rashbam says something interesting. He says that Yeshua was a Navi and a king, just like Moshe. So Yeshua also, the Rashbam says here, is considered like a king. Because Gemara's Vachim will tell us in the beginning of the Kufs, that Moshe Rabbeinu was a king, and here he says, the Rashbam says that Yeshua was also a king. What do you call? Back to the Gemara. Hashem made for Adam Rishon Gan Eden 10 different chuppahs. As it says in Pasuk, it says Be'eden Gan Elakim. He says talks to Hiram Melech Tzar, and he said here that Hiram Melech Tzar started out all right, but then later on he started to believe in himself and he wanted to become a god. But Shlomo Melech used him to help build the Beis Mikdash. So it says over there, Be'eden Gan Elakim Hayisa, were you in the Gan Eden? That Kol Evan Yikara, etc. That all those precious things that were in Gan Eden, you think you have them as well, and you think you can be like Adam Rishon. And there it mentions in the pasuk, the Gemara doesn't quote the whole pasuk, but the pasuk there it mentions in Gan Eden there was Oid and Pitta Yalam, a whole bunch of different precious stones, 10 of them, and you don't have that. And then the Gemara says Mazuta says actually there's 11 chuppahs. There was 11 chuppahs for Adam Rishon. Remember it says Kol Evan Yikara. Now Kol Evan Yikara is not just a generic term; it's also a particular kind of precious stones. And the worst of all the precious stones that were in Gan Eden was Zav, was gold. In that very pasuk, after it names all the tabulates, all the different kinds of precious stones. It says at the very end, Vizav, and gold. And then it says Melechas Tufecha, the Melech of drums, and your holes. We'll see what that means. So gold is the least precious of all these stones. It gives you an idea how precious these other stones are. It says, my Melechas Tufecha, what do you mean the Melech of the drums, Unikovecha? Bach and your hole that you have. What is Hashem trying to say to Hiram? He said, I knew people like you would come around and who claim that you are self-sufficient and you don't need an Eibishter and you can that you yourself are equal to God. Therefore what I did was ubarasi the kavim badam. When I made the world, I made sure that nobody is perfect. And I made that you have hollow parts in you, orifices, and like drums and holes where you have to go excrete in the bathroom and so on, which shows that you're What kind of God is that has to keep on excreting? Vikid others say, Hachakov, this is what Hashem said to him. The Chon is Takalti, and I looked into you, that I knew that one day you are going to rebel against me, and you're going to tell people that you are equal to God. So what I did was I made these like your drum beats, and the Kanasti Misa al Adam Adishim. And what I did was that I made people like Adam to die, and you have to bury them in a hollow ground. So that's like a drum which is hollow inside. Well, what exactly that means when Adam Rishon was punished because of the Chet Tzadas needs a little bit of explanation. unless what he means is that prior to that, or the plan was that Adam Rishon would pass away and he would remain above the ground. This that they had to be buried under the ground in a hollow grave, that is because of people like you who walk around claiming that they're God. So therefore, I made sure that that you disappear completely. You end up Afrul Tashuv means literally in the hollow ground. Anyway, then it continues. Va'al Mikra. It says that what do you mean Va'al Mikra and those who call it? Omar Rabba says Rabba. Omar Rabbi Yechanan. But it says in the pasuk there that I created on Hartzin Va'al Mikra and those who are calling to it. And then we went through the different the Anan and all that. So what does that mean? Now, Yerushalayim in this world is not the same as Yerushalayim in the future. Anybody can go make the way to Yerushalayim. Okay, not in the times of Yeravim and Nevat, so many years later, but generally you can go. But what do you call it? Shal Olam Haba, but the Shalim of the Olam Haba ain't Oilin Ella Hamazumon. Only those who are invited. Tzaddikim will be referred to by the name of Hashem. It says, "Called Nikra B'Shmi." Anyone who will be called by my name, in my honor, I created them. Afasisa, I made them. So Bri, Yitzir, Asir, the three worlds. So we see that Tzaddikim will be called by the name of Hashem. Three were referred to by the name of Hashem. Tzaddikim u'Mashiach v'Yerushalayim. All three of them go also by the name of Hashem. Tzaddikim Hada Amran. Tzaddikim we just said, but this passage we just said, called Nikra B'Shmi, and Mashiach. And where do you find Mashiach? The Chsiv, because it says V'zeh Shmoy Asher Yikru Hashem. This is the name Hashem will call him Tzidkenu. So we see that in the future it will call him Hashem, which is Mashiach, and Yerushalayim. Because it says when they divide the land, Hashem says to Yecheskel that Saviv, surrounding Yerushalayim on all four sides, will be Shmoyna Eser Elef, will be 18,000 reeds, the Shem Ha'ir, and the name of the city, Miyayim Hashem Shema, that Miyayim Hashem Shema. It's the pasuk is of Miyayim Hashem Shema. From there, Hashem, there will be the city, which is a literal reading means Yerushalayim. But we're darshaning Atikra Shema, don't say Vir, El Shema, its name. That the Yerushalayim will be called by the name of Hashem. Omer Blaza. Asin Tzaddikim Kaddish. Tzaddikim will be such a high level that in the future the Malachim will say Kaddish not only to Hashem but Tzaddikim as well. Just like to say before Hashem. Remember it says, those who remain in Tzin, those who remain in Yerushalayim, Kaddish Ya'amalai. They will be known as Kaddish, be called holy. So we see that what they will say Kaddish before Tzaddikim. Like Yerushalayim, Gimel Pasay Lamayla. Hashem will lift Yerushalayim 3 pasayis above, because it says when it describes Yerushalayim, it says that all the mountains around Yerushalayim will be leveled out, that in order that people can see Yerushalayim from far and wide, and it'll be way above the Rama. Yerushalayim be elevated, the Yashua Tachtel. People live near there. So my Tachtel, Kitachtel. What do you mean? It should be underneath. What do you mean the Yashua Tachtel? That it'll be Kitachtel, just like the Yerushalayim below is the measure of Yerushalayim below is 3 parsois. So therefore, the Yerushalayim above is going to be 3 parsois above that. It's all in Ruchnius. Simur says, how do you know? How do you know that Yerushalayim is measured 3 parsois in length? How someone is old man told me I saw Yerushalayim. I saw the old Yerushalayim, The tlosa parsa havi, and I measured it, and it was 3 parsa. V'shema toimer yeshar lalas. How are you going to say to me, what? That to climb so high, 3 parsayas, to get to the Shalim above is practically impossible. Tamalay, but if it says, it won't be difficult at all. But it says when all the Edom will be gathered together and we'll go to the Shalim Shalmaila, mi Eila, who are these people? Ka'av Taifena, Ukayanim alabasein, they will fly on the clouds and they'll fly on these birds up to the window into the sky. Amara Papa, Shmamina High Eva. So we learn from here that this cloud is Tlosa Parsi Midli. We'll lift them 3 parsa above the ground. But that's where Yerushalayim is. Saying more further, Amara Papa. Papa says, Bikish HaKadosh Baruch Hu Los Yerushalayim Mida. Hashem wanted to measure Yerushalayim, a limited size. Shenemar, it says in Chayyim, I said to this Malach, had a vision. This Malach was standing there measuring, had all these yardsticks and everything else, and I said to the Malach, where are you going? What are you doing? And he said to me, I'm going to measure Yerushalayim. Lira is how wide and how long it is. You created all these cities around the world. The nation of the world. None of them have a width or a length. And Shalayim, your name is in there. Filled with tzaddikim. You can put a measure. Immediately, the Malach, Hashem said to the Malach, go tell him to Chayarut, now speak to this young man, Allah's Lamer. Raza is Teitchev Yerushalayim. We're going to open up Yerushalayim and expand it. We're going to open it up. And the Rave Adam, Behema B'Teicha, there'll be a multitude of people there and animals. Amr Shlakish, also going to Yerushalayim, that Shlakish said that Kodesh Baruch Hu is going to add to Yerushalayim the following. And this is in many ways learning the Gemara. This is how the Rashbam learns the Gemara. Elef Tefef Ginois, gardens equal to 1,000 of the numerical word Tefef. And Tefef is 169, so there's going to be 169,000 gardens. Elef Keppel Migdolim. There'll be towers multiplied by 1,000. The word Keppel. Keppel is 210, so there'll be 210,000. Elef Litzui Bironius. There's going to be these large homes, these large palatial homes. There'll be 1,000 times the multiple of the word Litzui, which is 146. So there'll be 146,000 of these mansions. Elef Ushnei Shiloi Tetrafos. And then there'll be smaller houses, but also quite large. There'll be 1,002 times the word Shiloi, which is equals to 345. There'll be 345,000 plus the remainder. The Chol Achaz v'Achaz, and each one of these, Ha'achazik Tzipayri v'Shavasa, when Tzipayri in its heyday had myriad people, and when it was peaceful, and that's how many people will be here. And so each one of these sections, and Vitanya, I saw Tzipayri when it's peaceful. Rabbi Yossi himself, we learned Rabbi Yossi was banished by the Romans after that story of Shimon Yochai and Rabbi Yehuda and Rabbi Yossi. He didn't want to give an opinion about Rome, whether they did a good thing or not, so they banished him to Tzipayri. And we always say, you go after Rabbi Yossi at Tzipayri. He said, I was there, it was full of Yidden. But it was there. Meya Ushmoinim Elef Shvakim, 108,000 marketplaces. So Moichet Tzik Data was selling just this particular kind of food of Tzikik data. So it's full of Yidden there. So Gemara then just finishes off this whole sugya. This is the last part. It says here, we talk about the rooms in the Beis Hamikdash. We learned before, right? There were 33 rooms in the Beis Hamikdash. We learned about the wall, how it sort of gets narrower and narrower. And there was 33 rooms in total. Atzlois. So we're going to talk that. It's not only about the rooms of Beis Hamikdash, we're talking about Yerushalayim generally, the Yerushalayim of the future. Atzlois, Tzela, El Tzela, that, normally we run these rooms. Tzela, we learned before that, the rooms have different names. One of them was Tzela, is the Shalosh Yishloshbam 33 times. My Shalosh means 33 times. Amar Rabbi Papi, Mishum Rabbi Shur, the Sichni. 33 is either 30, it's a 30 and a 3. So we can learn two ways. Im Shloisha Yerushalayim, if Yerushalayim in the future will be 3 times the size of Yerushalayim today, then it will be have buildings that are 30 stories high. The sky is full of buildings that are 30 stories high. But the im shloishim Yerushalayim, if the Yerushalayim in the future will be 30 times the size of Yerushalayim of today, then each building will be 3 stories high. And this completes the Agadata of Gizmoi's Rabbi Chana, and then I guess tomorrow we'll go back to the normal Gemara again. Stop here because the next Gemara goes into the next 2 blocks.